Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, late night Villa Fillers, we always say it, mate, but they always hit different. Aston Villa 3, Manchester United 1. The first time in 27 years we've beaten Manchester United in the league at home. We weren't even born, Dan. We were just a mere glimmer in our parents' eyes. The thought of us didn't even exist, mate. It was actually on the 19th of August, which is coincidentally my birthday. Obviously, it's 4 years before my birthday. A little bit of Villa Filler trivia for you guys. So I expect some cards in the post. Maybe we should get a PO box. But Dan, I mean, what an afternoon! What a performance! I know you've struggled to get down to Villa Park this season, but I mean, this has made it all worth it, mate. Because you was there, you was present, you was. And maybe that's why we've been so shit, Dan, because
maybe, mate.
Maybe struggling. Maybe that's it,
man. Yeah, I'll own it to it, mate. Been a proper plastic this season. Proper plastic.
No, I'm not having that, mate. You're not a plastic. Life happens.
It's work's fault. It's work's fault because obviously working where I do and I cover football for a living, which unfortunately means your Saturdays and your Sundays they go for a burden. And then with a lot of train strikes, my parents have moved home as well, like I'm moving house as well. And yeah, it's all been a bit crazy in the Wiseman household. But so every once in a blue moon I've managed to get down there. Mate, it's a place you miss, man. And you know what? I was actually having this conversation like with my girlfriend and stuff like that because funny enough, I've actually been to the Etihad more than I've been to Villa Park this season. Speaking of plastic, that's really bad, isn't it? And plastic. When you go to those kind of grounds, it makes you appreciate Villa Park so much more because it's just like 100%. You go there and like I'm sitting in like a light show and there's like dubstep playing before like Pep comes out and it's all like I'm like give me like some burnt balti pie and hi-ho Aston Villa every day of the week. And so when you get to these games, especially ones like today, it's always so much more worth it. And mate, it felt good. Even the train strikes, nothing could stop me. I was getting there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The train strikes pain in everyone's arse. So shout out to everybody for coming through. Before this game, mate, I always worry about not the game, but like against Manchester United, you just know the home end's going to be filled with fucking Midlands-born United fans that have got a fan ID and they go to a Villa game every year so as they can have a fan ID and get their ticket for this game. That always stresses me out before the game. The thought of away fans invading our home end. I don't think I saw too many, to be honest, if any. So that's a good thing, mate. But 3-1. Having to pinch myself, mate, looking at the score, making sure that this actually happened the way it did. I can't believe it, man. I actually can't believe it. Unai Emery's first game in charge. Unai Emery's never lost a game to Manchester United now. That's 2 wins and 2 draws for the man, including Europa League final. Don Unai, our manager, mate. And if I'm being completely honest, it would be disingenuous, Dan, of it to come on this podcast and sit and talk to our wonderful listeners and viewers and say that I was glued to the pitch for 90 minutes because I wasn't. I was glued to Unai. I was watching Unai pretty much for the whole game, mate. Watching what he did, how he conducted himself, the suit he was wearing, that lovely fitted 2-piece, the claret tie, really, really fat around the neck. That's a really good knot. I'm not an expert on tie knots, but that was a really good knot. Maybe it's a Windsor knot. I don't know.
You don't get this anywhere else, man. You do not get this analysis anywhere else, do you, man?
We need a suit sponsorship. Slaters, hit us up. Slaters. Love a suit. But the way he conducted himself, and I was in awe, man, because we've seen Steven Gerrard, and I'm not just going to single out Steven Gerrard because we've seen Dean Smith and we've seen Steve Bruce and many a manager before, mate, stand on the touchline and just shout aimlessly. Whereas Unai, there was all sorts of hand gestures going on. There was some kung fu action. There was, a few points, a few pulls. He was conducting the choir from the sideline. It was music to my ears. Pardon me. It was absolutely phenomenal. And mate, again, this podcast is worth the wait, guys. This was worth the wait. Let us know in the comment section down below if it was worth the wait. But it's a breath of fresh air, mate, to go down to Villa Park, and I'd be lying if I expected us to get a win, but I did genuinely think, because we've been sat here for weeks, mate, just getting so giddy thinking about Unai. I honestly stepped foot in Villa Park, pretty sodden, may I add as well, thinking we can do this. We can really do this, and we pulled it off, mate. One of the greatest performances, I think, is fair to say, that we've seen live, Dan. I think.
Yeah.
27 years. We've never seen Aston Villa beat Manchester United at home in the Premier League until today, mate.
Yeah, that's pretty
just
depressing.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, mate. I just was sort of thinking about that, and I was like, man, that is shocking. Because you think of how bad United have been at points.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you're absolutely right, mate. And there was a feeling. I've seen a lot of people say that we should make this attacking towards the Holte end a thing, like going forward in the first half. So obviously, normally, like we've been attacking the Holte end in the second half, and I think we've had these 2 games now. The first against Brentford, and then this one. Obviously, there have been others, but more recently, the first one against Brentford, and then against Man United. And we've started really well. We've got 2, or in the other case, 3 early goals. And when Villa Park is just like that, it's just amazing. And there's just something so infectious about it. And someone asked me today, they were like, what do you think after the game? They're like, what do you think the biggest difference is? And I think it's just that positivity. It's like, I don't think Unai's not going to have done anything radically different in 4 days, whatever it's been, 5 days on the training pitch. He's not going to have torn up the Steven Gerrard, playbook completely, thrown it out the window, implemented a brand new tactical style. The players have learned it in a flash, and off they go. But there's just a feeling that a toxic, and look, I'm not saying that Gerrard is a toxic figure, but he became the forefront of what was a pretty nasty relationship between the club, the manager, the players, and the supporters in that kind of square. And there was a lot of toxicity that was existing between the two. And for one reason or another, rightly or wrongly, Stevie became the root of all those problems. And when you cut that off and you replace him with a man who is, can I just say, so likable, so likable, such a nice person. And I saw someone tweet today, and they were like, for someone he's managed some of the biggest clubs in Europe, managed PSG, Sevilla, Valencia, Villarreal, Arsenal, won 4 Champions Leagues, won 6 trophies in France, got to another Europa League final. He's so humble. And considering, I know Stevie, obviously he's got a far, far more distinguished playing career than Unai, if Unai ever had one. But considering his achievements as a manager, he's so much more humble, down to earth than Gerrard ever was. And I think even there will have been people that doubted Unai's appointment. But I think just the way that they've seen him conduct himself in press has meant that by the time we all walked into Villa Park, there was just a feeling of optimism and a feeling of positivity. And as soon as the Villa boys, as I said, started attacking the Holte end, I'm not totally convinced we should do that in the first half. But there's just, it all kind of came together just perfectly. And some of the guys come back from injury, and Luke coming back, and obviously we'll talk about that free kick. But just Boubacar being back on the bench, and this really nice lineup that we've all wanted to see. Everything just sort of came together at just the right time. And obviously, Ronaldo had the armband for Man United, which I think is something that Ten Hag might regret doing. And all of these things just sort of coexisted and all came together in this one moment. And it just meant that Villa started the game just right. And when we do that, it's such a hard place to play.
It is, mate. It is. It's like it was the perfect recipe for chaos, right? Because it's like this is the second game in a row, mate, as you pointed out, kicking towards the hole. Teams really think they're doing something. They really think they're going to distract us. But I think the reality of the situation is, mate, we've always kicked against the hole in the second half, so as we can really drag that ball into the back of the net. That's the feeling. That's the sentiment. That's the overriding emotion of and reason as to why Villa have done that historically. But actually, when there's so much good feeling and goodwill and excitement amongst the fans before the games, due to the appointment and the nature of playing against Manchester United, it's worked against them. It's gone completely in our favour. And I don't particularly have an opinion on whether we should, continue to do that. I'll let people debate that in the comments and let us know. I know Justin from Up the Villa podcast, great podcast. Justin's a great guy. He started a really good debate on Twitter about this last week. John Terry even got involved. So yeah, there's clearly a conversation to be had, but without being Switzerland, I'm going to be Switzerland because I don't really have an opinion on it. But mate, what? It's another quick start. It's another early start, and what I loved so much, mate, is that, and we can say this because I'm more than happy to sit here and eat humble pie. Ollie Watkins, phenomenal today. Absolutely phenomenal. He makes that first goal, dragging Victor Lindelof out of position, and finding that ball for JJ, slides Leon in perfectly, gives Leon the space to run into by dragging Lindelof out so far. I mean, what's Lindelof doing pressing Ollie nearly on the halfway line, mate? Absolutely awful defending, and very questionable goalkeeping from David De Gea, if we're being completely honest, mate. That's right at him. But Leon hits it with power, he hits it with conviction. Lovely celebration. And, whilst I'll sit here and eat humble pie about Watkins and how brilliant he's becoming and how brilliant, we know he could be brilliant, but he's a player who's frustrated me. It's time for you guys to eat humble pie about Leon Bailey, because he has been absolutely bloody phenomenal. And it's Newcastle was bad. He was pretty bad at Newcastle, but it cut like the biggest difference between what we've seen in this game and what we saw against Brentford as well. We'll discount Newcastle, but Brentford and Manchester United, them two performances, we have seen a coach set up the team in Danks and Emery and play players in what is their natural positions, and they've given them clear and concise game plans and things that they need to execute throughout the game to achieve, the overall win. And that's not something that has happened with the previous manager. There has been no clear coaching, there has been no clear game plan, there's been no clear philosophy. So, and I'm not excusing Leon for walking about and not tracking back, because that is unforgivable. It is the basics. But if nobody's in your ear telling you to do that, then you're not going to do it. And we've finally seen from Leon, he's stepping up defensively. He's taking more of a responsibility. He knows where he needs to be on the offense. And again, I'm just so happy because we spent a lot of money on this guy. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to work out. I do genuinely believe Leon on his day, unreal talent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've always had a bit of sympathy with Leon, because I feel like he had it difficult right from the start. Because do you remember we announced him as soon as Jack left? It was like minutes, if not hours later. It was immediately to try and remedy the situation. We announced that Jack had been sold to City, and then it was like, boom, we've signed by Leon Bailey. And nobody people, I'm not gonna say nobody cared, but it was I'd see what the club tried to do, but it didn't work. And it was I was so excited about the signing, but even I found it at the time. I was like, I should be really happy about this, but all I can think about the fact is Jack's been sold. And so from then, and with the injuries he had, I feel like he's been on a real uphill battle ever since that. And he's quietly having a good season. This is 5 goal contributions now in the league, another in the EFL Cup, so that's 6 in, I think, and not all of them has been started. So he's only started, I'm looking at transfer out now, they've got him down as playing only 65% of minutes for Villa this season. And so I'd say in terms of starts, he's averaging a goal contribution sort of every other game, which as a winger is really good, especially one that's been in as many as difficult positions as Leon has, in terms of injuries and whatnot. And when, he's a real confidence player, Leon Bailey. And we've seen that when his confidence has been low, he literally does not know what to do with the ball at times. It will arrive at his feet. And you'll see the one part of his mind go on, you Leon Bailey, dribble with it and do 2 step overs and take a man on and turn someone inside out. And then you see the other half of his brain go, nah, you're not doing that well, and you've kind of got a gammy muscle, and like you literally see him like just do nothing with the ball. Like he's sort of like try and take it one way and then do a step, and he just gets tackled. But when he's playing with that conviction and that self-belief, he's a menace. He's an outright menace, and he's looking like that FPL asset we all hoped he would be at the start of the season. But
Absolutely.
he's a player that I think like, you know, he finishes that really well, and it looks like he's getting his mojo back. And it did look pretty dire for him not too many games ago. You know, all you wanted was for him to find some form and find his feet. And you know, I think he's a player that really needs an arm around the shoulder, really needs a caring manager that's going to look out for him, almost specifically create a role for him, create opportunities for him, and like make sure that you know, he feels so valued. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, all players are different. That's clear. I think that's what Leon needs. But when you give him that, he's a dynamo, mate. He's such a good influence, I imagine, to have in the dressing room. And he's someone that, you know, I do think eventually we can rely on to be a pretty consistent output of goals and assists. And yeah, I think as other players come into form around him, that will help as well, because I don't think he's a player that you want shouldering the responsibility, being one of the main goal threats in the team. You know, you want him to be a player that feels like he's in a system where he can contribute at his own pace, sort of thing. Like, you don't want to be sending Leon out like, Leon, we need 20 goals and assists from you this season in all comps, really, mate. Because I think he's someone that needs to fit into a project better. And I think that's what Unai can give him. I really do. And yeah, seeing him score never gets old, mate.
Absolutely, it doesn't. Absolutely phenomenal, mate. Phenomenal player. I love him so much. My page is refreshed. I had some stats up on Leon Bailey. One thing I did want to mention, mate, how we set up today. I loved it, and Unai's comments specifically afterwards. Now I don't have the transcript, so I'm not quoting him directly, but he essentially said, "Look, the shape doesn't matter, but the players who we play, you know, we picked players based on their strengths, and we looked to accommodate as many players as we could, and to the best of their abilities to get us to win this game." And you know, many outlets have us lined up as a 4-2-3-1 or some even a 4-4-2, but this was a game, mate, that was it was essentially a 4-2-2. I felt. I think
was, mate. That is exactly what it was.
That's what it was. You know, we had Leon was essentially a second striker, running the flanks, him and Ollie, JJ and Emmy pulling the strings in behind, Dougie and Leander, like, were never more than 10 meters apart from one another. But what I found really interesting as well, mate, and the average positions don't show this, but then Donker was deployed more or less to just sit on Christian Eriksen and just follow him around. And it's only sort of watching that back, I've realised why we were willing to commit him so high up the pitch. And it was that I had an epiphany in the car, being like, Christian Eriksen even play? And he wasn't allowed to, because he was in the Amsterdam Docker's back pocket. It was a really marvellous way to deploy him. Obviously, there's no Master Camber not in the squad, but I'm a big fan of that, mate. I'm a big fan of that. It's these like little in-game things that, like, we've not seen this from a manager. We just haven't. So forgive me for getting excited. I do think, however, man, this guy, he is so slow, and he's like, he turns like an absolute right. When he commits to a foul, you had Rashford, you had Garnacho, like, pretty easily switch it up. But he did a number on Christian Eriksen, and that's all that matters, mate. Won 3 of his 5 ground duels, only lost possession once, made 3 tackles, 1 interception, 1 block shot, 1 clearance. I would call that a bloody good performance from Den Donker, to be honest.
100%.
You know, when you consider as well, he's not played a lot of football over the past 3 months, and unfortunately he's not going to play against Manchester United because him and Jan Bednarek are cup tied, which is sad because these guys need minutes. But Morgan Sanson, he came on, guys. You know the Villa filler. You know how much we like this guy. I screamed the moment he came on. Sanson season's back. It's the tweet. It's everything, mate. I remember a few months ago when he was left out of the squad. I think it's for Bournemouth. He was left out of the squad, right? And I remember you screenshotted me. You sent me a screenshot of Sanson's story where he's like, available, not in the squad, like, and I mean, we knew something was up in any case. And again, I don't want to just dig out Steven Gerrard here because Dean Smith also didn't pick Morgan Sanson, but this is a guy who is Champions League quality. He's played in Champions League for a consistent amount of time in France, and is somebody who deserves a shot at this. And I think Jacob said it in his press after the game. Gaffer's come in, clean slate for everybody. Morgan coming on at the end, mate. That is, and like, you know, people are saying I'm getting carried away or whatever, mate, but I'm just so happy to see him. And I just think that given what he's gone through, and you could see it full time as well, mate, how much it really meant to him. You know, the players all went up to him, they made a big deal. He was only on the pitch for a few minutes, but he got out on the pitch, didn't even know what to do with himself at full time because it's been so long, he didn't know what to do. I'm so happy on a personal level for Morgan Sanson. And mate, if he starts at Old Trafford on Thursday, then I think we can get excited.
But I didn't realise that was his first appearance of the season. I didn't realise this. I didn't realise it was that desperate. I could have sworn I saw him kicking around at the University of Bolton Stadium or whatever it is now, but apparently I didn't. That is his first. That's our first sighting of him this season. What? Yeah. That is nuts. So yeah, very happy for Booba as well. So absolutely. Glad to have you back. So I imagine we'll see a little bit more of him as well on Thursday, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. I imagine the two might even sort of do Sanson until 60, Booba until 90 sort of job.
I'd be happy with that.
100%, mate. 100%, because I think they both need easing back into game time probably as much as each other. Yeah, unreal, those two. I mean, whilst we're on the subject of French boys, mate, Luca Dean finally does it. Does it. He ends our free kick hoodoo, mate. Oh, the first direct free kick Aston Villa have scored in the Premier League since Christian Benteke in 2015. We are in 2022, almost 2023, ladies and gentlemen. It took Villa 7 years to score a direct free kick in the Premier League, and we have done it. And it wasn't Coutinho, it wasn't Ashley Young, it was Luca Dean. Yeah, unreal. I like, you saw it go in and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's what that's supposed to do, isn't it? All the time we've seen that. Think of all the free kicks we've had. Honestly, I was deep in this stat on the way back and I was like, think of all the free kicks we must have had in that time that have hit the wall, hit the bar, gone out for a corner, been saved, gone over in the Holte, in the north, like in the fucking Villa Village. Like, and Luke has finally stuck one in. And this is what I mean, man. Like, for Unai to come in and like these hoodoos are being lifted already, it's really nice, mate. And yeah, clearly our admin's an NBA fan because I liked the caption he uploaded to Twitter with Luca Magic. And so, mate, it's nice. It's all good. I'm really excited now for Thursday, seeing a few more of those boys. And yeah, man, let's see what we can do.
Absolutely. I'm so gassed, mate. I'm so gassed. And Jacob, mate, it's a midfield runner arriving late, absolute worldie. He was phenomenal, and I think one thing, you know, tactically, we were given so much space down the left, mate. Luca thrived. You know, he really did blossom like a rhododendron today. He was phenomenal, honestly. And I think he needed that as well because, you know, I thought it was a bit harsh that Ash was maybe dropped, but it's Manchester United. They're going to attack you with pace in Garnacho, Rashford, Elanga, who came on as well. And, you know, it was ultimately Ash's position to lose, and Lucas put in a star-studded performance that was worthy of him keeping the shirt. And I imagine, again, he will do that against United on Thursday. Maybe we'll see Augustinson. I don't know. But, yeah, Jacob, phenomenal. There needs to be a conversation about Jacob Ramsey in England, mate. And it's one that I booed off a few months ago, and basically, because, you know, we do this thing, we talk our players up. We did it with Grealish. They play for England and then they leave. They all do it. It's what happens. It just is how it works. And I want Jacob Ramsey nowhere near any Manchester City players, if I'm being completely honest, on a personal level. But a squad selection's coming up. I'm not saying Jacob's going to make it, but we're talking about, you know, this. like Dewsbury Hall, no, Curtis Jones, he's absolutely awful. Heard him being put in some people's squads. There is not a. There needs to be a conversation about Jacob Ramsey, is what I'm saying, because this guy's very good. He's very good. But we'll let you guys debate that in the comments, because that's what you guys are here for. Just want to give a shout out to all you guys who've been engaging with the shorts so much. You know, they've been doing so well. So thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. You know, Dan and I have both been putting in a lot of extra work and getting as much content out for you guys. So we'd really appreciate it if you would check out our Instagram and TikTok. The Instagram is at Villa for the Pod. The TikTok is at Heart of the Holte. It's where these you're gonna see clips from this podcast. Like even the other day when the badge dropped, you know, we get a badge video out. We get a discussion going for you guys. You know, we're just trying to make this feel more like a community for you guys. So. Yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you follow them. It'd mean the world to both of us. If you haven't, like this video, comment your thoughts below, subscribe for more. If you're listening on Anchor, make sure you rate it 5 stars, Apple, Spotify, whatever it is, give us a 5-star review. And up the Villa.